This episode of the XtremeAg Show is presented by AgriTek.
Cowboy is the game changer, getting it in through the leaf and into the plant circulatory system. That's why this product is so effective at delivering both calcium and boron to plants at critical times when they need it the most.
Grain bins are invaluable for a farmer. Storing and managing the inventory of their crop is, of course, the obvious benefit. But for Kelly, he's out in the field capturing ghosts and boosting his ROI in the process.
Well, here in the Midwest, we primarily use the grain dryer for corn. I'm going to start combining corn at a 25 to 27% moisture. Industry standard is 15%. That's considered dry corn. Corn above 18.5% moisture without air on it won't keep. And really corn above 18.5% air for any length of time above 18.5% moisture won't keep at all. You get below 18.5 and you run air on it, just regular air, you can keep it, it's fine. But it's safe to store long term at 15%, 16%. So what the grain dryer does is we'll combine corn at 25%. The trucks will come, they'll dump the truck, it goes up the leg into the wet bin, and then the computer will keep the dryer full. It'll kick the augers on and off to keep the dryer full, dumps the corn in the top of the dryer, and it fills up and it goes down slowly through there. There's meters at the bottom that are turning at the precise speed to get the corn dry. And there's large fans on there along with propane burners is what we would call them. And they'll be, say, at 200 degrees, 210 degrees is how hot the burners will be. And it's forced air through the grain to dry it down. And when the corn comes out the bottom, it'll be dry. You know, if we want to dry it all the way down to, say, 15, you know, you're going to bring 25% corn in. We'll probably set it to come out of the bottom of the dryer at 17. And then when it goes into the cooling bin, which are the other two bins on the east of us here, goes into those cooling bins, you'll air dry at the last couple points. And it'll cool down, dry down, then you can keep the corn. But a lot of times, we'll be bringing this corn in 26, 27%. We'll be drying it to, say, 20, 25. And you know, between 20 and 25, we'll be hauling it to the ethanol plant. The ethanol plant, our end user will have different marketing opportunities throughout the year, and we're just wanting to bring the corn in, dry it down, and then ship it. Other times of the year, you know, we're going to want to store it. And you know, you could, in the old days, you know, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you would just wait till the corn was appropriate to put in the bin. Well, now with the amount of acres we're farming, and with more new technology, new knowledge, I don't ever want to combine corn below 19. They talk about ghost bushels. When you get below 19% moisture and then the combine is threshing the grain off the cob, the point of the kernel will break off and stay with the cob and then go out as residue with the trash, with all the stalk. And so you can never find the yield loss, but that's what we call ghost bushels. So you get down below 19%, you combine 15% corn, it won't yield as much as combining, say, 20% corn and drying it mechanically with the dryer. The dryer pays for itself in yield to the tune of 10 to 12 bushel to the acre, in my opinion. And I've seen this. As a younger man, we'll be combining early corn, hauling it to the ethanol plant, and then my dad will come and say, boys, it's time to combine beans. You'll shut the combines off right there, take the corn heads off, put the bean heads on, go combine beans for 2 weeks. Come back, go back into the same field, the yield drops. There's your ghost bushels, and you can't find it. You could never figure out why. Well, it's because you went from combining, say, 23% corn to 17% corn. That's how the dryer pays for itself. So, you know, our customer, the ethanol plant, which typically is Anderson's Ethanol in Denison, we're lucky it's only about 9 miles away, they won't take corn over 25. And then during harvest, when everybody gets to rolling, there'll be a lot of wet corn come in, and their dryer, which is much larger than ours, their dryer might not keep up, and they might have they might be full of wet corn and they'll only take dry corn, which is 15. So then all of a sudden they'll shut the wet corn off and go to dry corn. Well, with this dryer, we now have the ability to dry corn to 15 and take it to them. And they'll give us a premium on those bushels when they want dry corn. So that's, when I talk about a marketing opportunity, that's an example of the marketing opportunity. You know, it used to be before when the ethanol plant didn't want wet bushels anymore and they would shut you off. You just had to quit combining. Well, we really don't want that to be an option. We want to be able to keep harvesting and get done in a timely fashion, and the dryer allows us to do that.
Amino Grow is an exciting new product put out by Concept AgriTek. What we've seen is an increase in fruiting sites as well as branching, and this has equated to yield.
Spot less. Introducing the cleanup for tar spot, gray leaf spot, southern rust, and more. Novel next generation Adastrio fungicide from FMC broadens your spectrum and strengthens your residual foliar disease control. Protect your cornfields with a proprietary combination of 3 modes of action. Visit your FMC retailer or adastrio.ag.fmc.com to clean up this season.
In the heart of harvest, victory awaits. Introducing Demco's high-speed, all-wheel steer, combine header transport trailers. Crafted for strength, engineered for speed. Demco, tailored for victory.
Some farmers I know swear by a name. Say they'd never operate anything else. Well, here are a few names for my Fendt 900 tractor. Fuel Saver, Time Maximizer, Game Changer. I like those names.
BioHealth is a product by Concept AgriTek made up of a consortium of beneficial biology that actually colonize the plant and boost the plant's immune system from the inside.
One of the biggest tools we have for us in our toolbox for harvest is grain bins. The tool of the bin is, instead of being in a line at the elevator with 200 trucks, you're at your own grain bin facility with however many trucks you're running, of your own. So it gives you a chance to dump quicker. It gives you a chance to harvest earlier. If you harvest corn at 22% moisture, 24% moisture, there's going to be a better yield there than if you harvest it at 15. Definitely got a yield increase. You've definitely got a quality increase. It just makes things so much easier to manage. Then, instead of having to worry about shipping it out, then you put it in a bin, you ship it in January. Hey, I want to sell my crop in January when I'm not doing much else. It's cold and wet and there's nothing else going on. Another thing too, as I talk about, managing for hurricanes, we get 10 days earlier harvest because we have bins. That's 10 days less weather that we don't have that. We're not exposed to those environmental concerns. There's tons and tons of advantages to having bins. This is my typical 3-bin loop system. And we have pipes right here. These pipes go through the bin. This pipe comes out here, and then it comes up here and it comes across. Okay, so when we're talking about a loop system, this is theoretically what it looks like. So it's moving grain like this. So you've got a door here, a door here, a door here. All right, this is your truck dump. The corn is falling into a pit and it's traveling down this loop. So what you do is you say, okay, I want this corn's 15%, and I want it in bin 2. You open this gate on bin 2 and this corn's gonna fall in here. If that gate's not open and this gate's open, he's gonna pass that one. Oh, that one's open and it's gonna fall in there. The corn's gonna go the least resistance. So same scenario. You've got this bin 15% corn and you've got this bin 20% corn. you're wanting to go back into the truck, so you've got another door here. We're loading out. So when we load out, you've got a gate under this bin, a gate under this bin, and a gate under this bin. So you say, okay, I want my corn to be 17.5% moisture. So here's the truck ready to receive the grain. You open this one halfway, and you open this one halfway. Theoretically, if you've done your job on moisture management, you're gonna have half the corn coming out of here, half the corn coming out of here. So you're able to do some blending between this bin and this bin, and you can even do it with 3. So the cool thing about a loopy is I can pull out of this bin and this bin and this bin at the same time. I can load back into these bins all at the same time, or I can load into one or load into the other one. Dryer setting back here. In that scenario, this is your wet tank. You've got augers behind this bin bringing it up and bringing it into this dryer. Then the dryer's sitting over here with a leg, and this leg has a pipe to here, a pipe to here, and a pipe over to here, which goes into my next loop system. So as you're drying this grain, it's free flowing. This valve is underneath this loop, and it's free flowing into this bin, and you're steadily filling the bin up with dry corn. Once that corn comes out of there, it's probably going to be somewhere around 120 degrees. You turn your fans on, which are located on the sides of your bins, to you want to cool the temperature down on the corn. You know, you really theoretically want it to be about 75 degrees at the hottest when it's cured. So that's kind of the explanation of what is called a loop system, which is a really unique, efficient way to use bins compared to the old system where you had, just say you had bins sitting in what they call a semicircle, and you had a pit right here, and this pit's going into an auger, and this auger's sitting here, so you can fill this bin up, but you can't fill this bin up and this bin up at the same time. Or say you're shipping out, you can only pull from one bin at a time back into the truck. You can't pull from 2 at the same time unless you got 2 augers. By the time you set this up to do what this would do, it'd be cost prohibitive. So that's the reason for the loop system.
Adding Raytheon into your in-fur application, or even an over-the-top application, ground V3, V4, can do wonders in helping that plant navigate tough soil conditions as far as nutrient tie-up is concerned.
Control the toughest weeds with overlapping residuals. Lock in the longest-lasting control for your soybean fields. Authority brand herbicides such as Authority Edge herbicide and Authority Supreme herbicide combine the industry's most effective Group 14 and 15 active ingredients for a clean start and long-lasting residual control. Following up 14 to 28 days later with a post-application of Anthem Max herbicide through V6 establishes a heavy-duty, economical, overlapping residual program.
Claims are good and all, but I'm more interested in results. My Fendt Momentum planter delivers them. The only planter with automatic tire pressure adjustments, weight transfer across its frame, and inline center tandem wheels that eliminate pinch rows. It's just another way I know Fendt's got my bottom line top of mind.
Introducing Demco's newest dual auger grain cart design. Now equipped with the front folding auger and available in right side or left side unload options. Featuring Demco's corner auger design for optimal visibility. With a 22-inch vertical auger, unload at speeds of 600 bushels per minute. Demco. Outpace harvest time every time.
Sweet Success has been in the product lineup of Concept AgriTek for a while. We've seen it do a lot of things that you wouldn't think a blackstrap molasses product would do. Anytime you can increase the bricks content of your plant, the more healthy it's going to be.
It's the end of corn harvesting for Chad. He's down to the last fields, and it's late in the season. And there's a method to his madness. But of course, this is farming, so nothing goes according to plan.
This corn is tired. The reason that we haven't already shelled this corn, is where we started, is we strategically placed certain fields where we can use the bagger. We've been blessed with a good crop this year, and we'll be somewhere around 100 to 140,000 bushel over what our bins will hold. Well, we don't have a real good source of getting rid of the corn right now. It's below what market is. So we're decided, you know, that we're gonna bag corn. We put it in a bag, so we want it dry to where when we get it out of the bag, all of our corn goes to chicken feed. So it needs to be 14.5, 15%, under 15%, you know. And moisture is, like I said, the percentage of wetness or moisture, as you would call it, that's in a kernel. And as the corn dries down, and as you see it on when you're driving by in the road in the car and it going from green to kind of off green and brown to completely brown, the plant itself has give up. So the moisture is leaving the plant, therefore leaving the ear, and it's had its full life cycle. It's produced what it's going to produce. All of our corn goes to chicken feed. Well, the crusher at the chicken, it needs the corn dry. They don't really have the ability, you know, all of them don't, to put in drying systems and to dry it all down. They really need it to be dry whenever they receive the corn in from the farmer. We need this corn to be under 15%. So this corn is running like our field, we're 13.4 right now, 14% corn. But it's because, yeah, we're losing money on that, but it won't be near as much money as I lose if I have to go sell it right now. So again, the reason this field looks like it looks is because we waited on it to dry to put it in bags instead of harvesting this at 18 or 19%, where we would got our best bang for our buck. Then we had to wait a little bit to get it to where it's dry. So that's the reason that this corn looks rough as it is, and we're out here, you know, hadn't already shelled this corn. Because I'm sure if y'all farmers are like me, you're gonna be like, golly, what was that fool doing? I wanna get his crop out of the field. All the rest of my corn don't look like this, but this 300 acres, it's took it like a champ. So we started bagging, and the first bag went okay, and then we had a problem. So I'm on the combine, right? And I see this thing running, the bagger's running great, things are going, we're moving right along, and I look up and things come to a halt. I mean, the grain carts stop, there's no grain carts, the combines are full, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I called Dad Jackson, a couple more of the guys are over at the bagger. I called Dad like, what's up over there? Y'all taking a break? What's going on? He's like, no, the bag come off the end of the bagger. I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, I don't really know what happened, but the bag come off the end. So I think our cord, the latchet cord broke, or some part of it come unhooked. When it come unhooked, all the bag come off. When it did, the corn run out the end. As they say, down goes Frazier. The best part about the bag breaking up, which is never a good part, right? The best part was that we was close to a farm of a friend of mine, a great friend of mine, that had a vacuum. So when we went and got his vac, we started sucking out, because it don't matter what happens, when you run out the end of a bag or you mess a bag up, to me, on our farm, it's about 500 bushel. It's 500 bushel of scoop, 500 bushel of a backhoe, or 500 bushel of a vacuum, whichever one you want a 500 bushel at. So we sucked about 500 as we start sucking this out to where we can seal the bag up, because the corn's just out the end of it. So we have to still seal it off, because we plan on keeping this corn till maybe March. And so we seal it, get this thing to seal up. Well, in the process of vacuuming, I broke the hose. So we're repairing the hose. We get this thing repaired. It's hotter than the devil, hotter than the dickens. And we get this thing repaired up, got the bag back going, get the bag sealed up, off to the races.
Go long for season-long foliar disease protection that starts at plant. Active ingredient flutriafol moves through your corn plants as they grow for inside-out protection from roots to tassel. A single at-plant application provides comparable performance in corn yield protection to that of VTR1 foliar fungicides against diseases like gray leaf spot, northern corn leaf blight, common rust, and more.
Some farmers I know swear by a name, say they'd never operate anything else. Well, here are a few names for my Fendt 900 tractor. Fuel Saver, Time Maximizer, Game Changer. I like those names.
Down in the Delta of Arkansas, the first crop that comes to mind for most people is cotton. Matt does grow cotton, but he loves growing rice, but not in the way you've seen it in the movies. And he's not the only one who loves the rice fields.
This is one of my favorite places to be. Rice is one of the things that I kind of feel like is a heritage thing for farming. This is something that goes straight to your table. This farm here, specific farm, is very sustainably grown. So it's really cool to me to be able to do what we're doing here, put this food on your table and do it in a sustainable way. So the cool thing about Arkansas is it is the #1 rice producing state in the United States. A lot of people don't know that rice is grown here, but it is absolutely one of our major crops in Arkansas. So rice is harvested similar to wheat. It's grown, we plant it with a drill. It's harvested with a regular draper header. The differences between wheat and rice is we have so much foliage, as you can see here, that that we have to deal with. A lot of stover goes through the combine. Rice is very abrasive to the combines, to the grain bins, everything we do. You hear a lot of people in the Midwest say, whatever you do, don't buy a combine that's been in rice. And to be honest with you, I don't disagree with them. Rice is a lot like wheat, but it's very abrasive and it will wear your machinery out and you've got to go a lot slower. We're probably running, when they quit today, they were probably running a mile to a mile and a half an hour. Wheat, you can run, 2 to 4 miles an hour, depending on what your moisture is on your wheat. So rice is such a unique product, from the harvesting to the planting to actually going on the table. When you plant a corn plant, you got one ear up at the top. When you plant a soybean plant, you have pods growing from the node 1 or node 3 or whatever all the way up. When you grow rice, the plant grows, it tillers out. And what I mean by tiller is it'll be like one guy and then he'll have 5 guys around him that come up with him. It's the same thing with wheat, it's a tillering process. And then when you get through, you've got a head on it like this. And, all you have to do is be about 4 or 5 inches below that head and you get it all done. You end up leaving this stubble out here. And this is a problem. This is a problem we have to deal with, is the stubble, but we've got ways to do that and get it back into the soil. A lot of people think that rice has to be grown in the water. If you watch a lot of the movies, maybe you watch Rambo, and you see the rice grown in the paddies and everybody's in the water. Rice don't have to be grown in the water. There's a lot of row rice now grown, which is a new adaptation that we've made to being able to grow rice. Water is used for weed control. So the cheapest weed control you can have in rice is to actually flood the field, because grasses will not come up as well if you're flooded. So we'll keep a light flood on this crop. Now the crazy thing is, when you plant the rice, you still got to have the same dry ground as you would if you were planting corn, soybeans, or anything else. Rice can actually come up in water and it can come up in mud, but it can't come up in both. So it's kind of tricky how you do it. Some people will water seed it. So you'll flood the field with water, then you'll drop the seed in the water, the seed will sprout. You'll let the seed kind of attach to the soil, and then you'll drop the water and the seed will be there. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is with a drill and plant it. And if you get a big rain, a flooding rain, you've got to go out there and actually drain the water off the rice just like you would if you were planting corn and soybeans. So it's kind of a unique product that can stand water, but in the same sense, water's not its 100% friend. It's just mainly used for weed control. So when we get through harvesting these fields, we'll come in here and Kelly diamond the fields and get the stubble down. We'll automatically put a flood on it. And then I think we're home to more than 200 species of waterfowl. So rice attracts ducks, and we love to hunt ducks. We love to grow rice. So having rice on your table and a place to duck hunt, you know, in the winter is two things that we really like about the rice.
It changes everything, so says Indiana corn grower Nathan Davis about innovative Xyway LFR fungicide from FMC. Xyway brand fungicides are the first and only at-plant corn fungicides to provide unprecedented season-long inside-out foliar disease protection.
Precision is understanding the potential hidden within. Decoding the specific nutritional needs of your crop. Maximizing every nutrient and getting the most out of your yield. We break down the science in a way that works for your crops and for you. Apply less and expect more with Precision Crop Nutrition from Agro Liquid.
In the heart of harvest, victory awaits. Introducing Demco's high-speed, all-wheel steer, combine header transport trailers. Crafted for strength, engineered for speed. Demco, tailored for victory.
We're going to talk a little bit now about chloride, which is basically what I call salt, sodium chloride. Here in the Delta, we have a lot of problem with salt in our water. So when you get into more of our high clay soils and you get over in the eastern part of the county, you know, there's literally salt. We're pumping salt out of the wells. So if we're flushing rice, and when I talk about flushing rice, we'll dump that water on the rice and it'll go down and hit the levee and come back. We'll let it out in the next levee and so on. Then we let all that water go. If you see, a lot of times we'll actually see white on the side of our levee, and that's basically salt, which is chloride. So we deal with that. It's a problem. Muriated potash, you know, that's the most used or the most popular source of potassium that you can have. It's called potassium chloride. About 47% of potassium chloride, our potash, is chloride. What chloride does is it actually robs moisture. I mean, you think about it, you know, if you think about salt, what do you use to cure meat? You know, if you're gonna cure a ham, you put salt on it. And so it actually cure and dry it up. So chloride actually will also fracture the soil, and it'll kind of bust up the soil particles, and that allows more compaction. So there's a lot of negative things with chloride. I just assume nothing I have chloride in it. When we're looking at these different infer phosphorus fertilizers, one of the things we look at is the salt content. You know, so that is one negative nutrient that we don't need. You know, that's something we have to pay a lot of attention to, especially down here. We get water samples and, you know, we want to see the pH of our water. We want to see the salt content of our water. In a lot of these salty areas where these irrigation wells pump salt, then we will get reservoir water. But you will still be surprised at the amount of chloride that'll be in your reservoir water, because that water's coming from where? It's runoff water from the wells and stuff that's been pumped into the drains or into the bayous, and then we pick that up, put it in the reservoir. Surface water is still going to have a salt content in it. So that's something we have to pay a lot of attention to. If we're on a real salty farm, we've got to have a bean that is a salt excluder, and they breed some beans that will actually negate the salt and keep the salt from going into the plant. And so when we're looking at some of these higher clay soils and bean varieties, one of the big issues is it a salt excluder or is it not? You know, when I was a kid, I started farming a buckshot farm down in Chico County. And I had a guy come by, the neighbor, and you know, we're sitting there on the turn road talking, and he said, "Boy, your beans look good." And I said, "Yeah, they look pretty good." And he said, "Well, you know, what variety did you plant?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, I hope it's a salt excluder." I said, what's a salt excluder? Now, I was as naive as you could be because I was a cotton farmer that come down here to plant some buckshot and grow soybeans on it and rice. And he said, we got a lot of salt down here, son. He said, if you don't have a salt excluder, you'll be in trouble. So I panicked. I'm a kid, barely got a crop loan, just starting to farm. So immediately I went back to the shop, got all my records to find out what bean I had. Luckily, it was about a 1,000-acre farm, and luckily all but 40 acres was salt excluder beans. Now that wasn't because I picked salt excluders, that was because God looked down and blessed me on what varieties I picked. 40 acres made about 30 bushels and the other ones made about 60. So that shows you the difference if you don't have a bean that will resist salt.